For every hated solo leveling character, there's one who is loved by everyone, starting with Cha Hae-hin. By rank, S-class, by heart, a protector, nicknamed the Dancer because of her dance-like movements, Hunter Cha is the rare kind of upperclassman who would pull you out of a tough spot, and maybe even hand you a cookie after. Where Kang used his strength to torment, Cha used hers to protect. His power made people feel small, hers made them feel safe. Before we even get to know her, she's already seen stopping a purse-snatching attempt. She didn't just stop crime in dungeons, she stopped it on the streets. A track star turned hunter. After an injury ended her career, she chose to rise again in a different arena. Hunter Cha retired from sports, awakened as a C-rank hunter, and climbed all the way to S-rank. She didn't use her trauma to punish the world, she turned it into fuel to protect others from the pain she knew too well. She walked through dungeons and city streets, not looking for prey, but for people she could save. Where Cha patrolled dungeons looking to provide assistance, Kang Tae-shik saw them as potential cover-up zones. His strength made people afraid. Her strength made them feel safe. And it was on one of those patrols, where she looked for people to protect, that she found Sung Jin-woo. At first, Cha confronted Jin-woo to prevent him from going into the gate where the dungeon boss lived, insisting that he stay far away from it. However, she notices the fact that unlike other hunters, he doesn't smell. She noticed his difference, but never mocked it. That's the difference between Cha and every other hunter. Cha Hae-hin fought to make others feel safe. But notice something, even though Cha notices that most hunters smell, she doesn't say it in a way that upsets or makes them offended. Instead, she quietly covered her nose, even sitting out preparations before Jeju Island. And when she sees Jin-woo's weakness, she responds with kindness. Unlike Kang Tae-shik, by title, a hunter, by nature, a killer. His story started in blood. As a child, his father beat him relentlessly, until one day, 6-year-old Kang snapped. He killed the man with his own hands. When the police arrived, they dismissed it. He's just a boy, they said. But that was the problem. Kang could, and he did. That night didn't end his violence, it defined it. Even after joining the Hunters Association, Kang treated dungeons as personal hunting grounds. His patrols weren't about protecting people. They were about feeding his urge to kill, executing criminals in the shadows. And no one would question him. As Kang himself once admitted, "If I kill them here, no one will know." That wasn't a confession. That was a philosophy. In episode 7, a grieving father approached Kang with an offer, 3 billion won, nearly $2 million, to kill the men who had assaulted his daughter, driving her to sue. Kang didn't hesitate. In fact, he requested more, recognizing how difficult the job would be. But notice that while he claimed social justice, he still punished his opponents. The truth? Kang didn't care about justice. He just liked watching people break. But Kang's murderous intent was even stronger for his fellow hunters as he resorted to torturing Kang Jong-ho and fatally stabbing Kim Sang-shik to bait the others into his trap. Kang Tae-shik is like that upperclassman who bullies freshmen, not because they did anything wrong, but simply because he can. And because he knows that no matter how hard they fight back, he'll always be stronger. Kang Tae-shik wasn't a protector. He was a killer hiding behind the badge. But where Kang Tae-shik would use his powers to torture others, Jin-woo would use his powers to save everyone and become the most loved hunter in solo leveling. Originally starting out as E-rank, the weakest hunter of all time. But even at rock bottom, Sung Jin-woo never lost confidence. His selflessness, even when he was the weakest on every team, made him one of the most loved characters in the solo leveling universe. While others fought for fame or fortune, Jin-woo fought simply so others could live another day. Unlike Kang Tae-shik, who saw dungeons as playgrounds for murder, or Hwang Dong-suk, who only hunted for greed, Sung Jin-woo became a hunter for love, constantly putting himself through harder and harder tasks. To save his mother from the eternal sleep disease, to provide for his sister, Gina, only killing when the system demanded it. Time and time again, he threw himself into danger, stepping onto Jeju Island without hesitation, standing beside hunters far stronger than him, until one day, he was the strongest of them all. Sure, he tends to aura farm when the chance presents itself, but that's just Jin-woo being Jin-woo. And when the world needed him the most during the Monarch's War, he wasn't nowhere to be found like the Avatar. He was there. from the weakest hunter in Korea to the strongest being in existence. The boy who couldn't save anyone became the man who saved everyone. Jinwoo fought to save humanity. Antares fought to own it. The monarch of destruction, ruler of dragons, commander of chaos. Antares was the strongest of all monarchs. Yet behind all that power hid a fragile ego. Like Szilard, he couldn't stand the thought of anyone greater than him. Not even his own ally Ashbourne, the original Shadow Monarch. During the war between the monarchs and the rulers, Antares began to fear Ashbourne's growing strength. So he did what cowards always do. He betrayed him, ordering Raken and Baran to take him out. Big mistake. Ashbourne defeated Raken. He killed Baran, the same Baran who shows up on the 100th floor of the Demon Castle and then vanishes. Because of Antares' arrogance, the monarchs lost, and the survivors were forced into hiding. Antares is like that friend who sees you having something better than his and immediately wants to own it. If you don't hand it to him, he'll want to destroy it. And in the end, he never hid his cowardice. Even before he died, he admitted he never stood a chance. Pride without courage, power without honor. Unlike everyone's favorite, Go Gun-hee. Although Sung Jin-woo would reject his offer to join the Hunters Guild, he would remain enthusiastic and a father figure to Sung Jin-woo, at least in the absence of his father. Before becoming the chairman of Korea's Hunter Association, Gun-hee was a corporate giant, a man who'd already conquered one world before awakening to another. As a vessel of the rulers, he became Korea's strongest hunter, but age betrayed him. And age is a battle even the strongest can't win. Even healing magic couldn't reverse what time had taken. His power grew while his body began to fail him, forcing him to retire after just a few years. Even then, he never stopped fighting, pouring his own fortune into building the Hunter Association and guiding the next generation. Where Szilard hunted rivals out of pride, Gun-hee lifted them up, cheering louder than anyone when Jinwoo arrived on Jeju Island.
He made it there! Thank you, Hunter
But his
Son!
final night would come when Szilard broke into his office. Knowing he couldn't win, Gun-hee unleashed everything he had. Not to survive, but to stall, praying Jinwoo would make it in time. His body eventually gave out. When Jinwoo arrived, Gun-hee was already lying in a pool of his own blood. Jinwoo tried to save him with the holy water of life, but Gun-hee refused, asking him instead to stay on humanity's side in the coming war. He had nothing left to give, except his faith in Jinwoo. And in that moment, Go Gun-hee smiled, closed his eyes, and accepted his fate. Gun-hee gave his life. The Frost Monarch took it. A man who fought till his last breath, not for glory, not for power, but for the hope that humanity might survive what was coming. In the epilogue, Gun-hee is briefly reincarnated and given 10 more years. But when faced with the same choice, he still refuses immortality. Even in a second life, he stays true to who he was. The next hated character will be Gun-hee's final enemy, Szilard. But first, a little backstory. Szilard first appears 3 days after the Jeju Island arc. Szilard, also known as the Frost Monarch, was one of the 10 monarchs, immensely powerful beings who are essentially embodiments of destruction, chaos, and raw elemental power. As with any comic book show, the monarchs are opposed by the rulers, who are the superheroes of the solo leveling universe. But unlike typical superheroes like Superman or Goku, the rulers cannot descend to Earth freely. Instead, they must possess human vessels, people strong enough to carry fragments of their divine power. Think of it like Venom needing Eddie Brock to function. Often, these vessels don't even realize they're carrying such power until it's too late. As a result, Szilard and his other allies, including Raken, Antares, Baran, and others, begin hunting these vessels down. It is for this reason that they ambush Christopher Reed, the third strongest hunter in the universe and an awakened vessel of a ruler, and kill him. But, while this was a very sad event to see, a more depressing catastrophe was about to happen. The next vessel Szilard would attack would be someone so close to home, it would make viewers cry. While working hard one night, Go Gun-hee detected some kind of barrier around him. It was Szilard. Although he would fight very hard to stall until Sung Jin-woo arrived, his frail body would hit its limit, allowing Szilard to fatally stab and kill him. And it is for this reason that Szilard is hated and Go Gun-hee is loved. In contrast, Igris is loved. When Igris first meets Jinwoo, he doesn't just fight him, he humiliates him. And when Jinwoo throws down his sword and challenges him to a fair, hand-to-hand fight, Igris accepts. He still wins effortlessly. Even when Jinwoo finally manages to defeat and summon him as a shadow, he admits it was a close call. The kind of fight that leaves you wondering who truly won.
More of a fluke than a win.
But Igris' story doesn't stop there. From then on, Igris becomes one of Jinwoo's most trusted shadows, powerful, loyal, and dependable. On becoming a shadow, he still showed the excellent strength that made Sung Jinwoo almost unable to defeat him at first. So much so that Jinwoo makes him his right-hand man on many occasions. When Jinwoo faces Baran, he calls for just 2 names.
Tusk! Igris!
Because when things get dangerous, Igris is always at his side. But what made fans love Igris wasn't just his power, it was his character. Silent, loyal, and disciplined. The only shadow who bowed with pride, not submission. At times, he even acted as a teacher, sparring with Jinwoo, leading other shadows, embodying everything a knight should be. He leads by example even without saying a word. But Igris' story stretches far deeper than most realize. Long before Jinwoo, Igris once served under Ashbourne, the original Shadow Monarch. When Ashbourne sought a human successor, he chose Igris to test that successor in battle, to ensure that only someone truly worthy could inherit his power. That's why their first fight felt personal. It wasn't just a duel, it was destiny testing its next king. After the Monarch's War arc, Igris finally regains his full strength, the same strength that once made monarchs fear him, a strength even the Frost Monarch, Silad, would come to acknowledge. But not every shadow immediately earned the respect of fans. Some, like Baru, were hated at first. Before he was calling Jinwoo my king, he was tearing S-rank hunters apart for fun. Baru, the Ant King of Jeju Island, wasn't just powerful, he was arrogant, sadistic, and terrifying. His smug smile as he dismantled Japan's best was burned into every viewer's mind. Born to kill, Baru showed mercy to no one. A monster so strong, even the world's greatest hunters looked helpless before him. Unlike the other ants, who mindlessly obeyed, Baru could think. He was the perfect predator, strength, speed, and intelligence all wrapped into one body built for slaughter. But what would make him hated is his cowardice. The same intelligence that made him terrifying also made him realize when he'd met something far greater. In the end, the King of Ants bowed before the King of Shadows. He was feared as the Ant King, but loved as Jinwoo's most loyal shadow. The predator who made others tremble, now trembling himself. From monster to servant, from fear to faith. Baru wasn't just defeated, he was transformed. Yet while Baru had to earn that love, Lee Juhee was loved from the start. Lee Juhee, on the other hand, saw weakness as something to protect. If Jinwoo was the weakest hunter alive, Juhee was the one person who never let him feel alone. Rather than mock his title as the weakest hunter of mankind, she stayed by his side, healing him again and again, even when it meant holding back while the rest of the party moved forward. Juhee healed pain. Hwang Dong-suk caused it. And when he pushed himself too far, she wasn't afraid to scold him.
Jinwoo! Oh. You got hurt again!
Yeah.
At times, she cared for him more like family than even his own sister, Sung Jina. But what made Juhee especially empathetic was that she was just like him. A B-rank healer, too powerful for D-rank raids, but too afraid to face anything higher. Dungeons terrified her. Yet when she saw Jinwoo, powerless as he was, keep moving forward, it gave her courage. And it wasn't just admiration. Sometimes her kindness hinted at something more.
Well, in that case, you could always show your thanks by taking me out to eat somewhere.
She saw his weakness as something worth protecting, the exact opposite of Hwang Dong-suk, who tried to exploit it. In the second episode, where the team gathers in a circle and the statues attempt to take their lives, Juhee is the only one who hesitates to leave, as her legs couldn't carry her and she couldn't bear leaving Jinwoo alone in there. Even after the tragedy, she was the first to reach out. She brought him flowers in the hospital, a simple act of kindness none of the others even thought to do. Sadly, we don't see much of her as the series progresses. As Jinwoo grew stronger, Juhee quietly slipped out of the story. No Jeju Island, no epic battles, just a healer who once stood by the weakest hunter and then faded into the background. Some fans say she deserved better. Others say her gentle nature wouldn't have survived in the brutal world Jinwoo was stepping into. But moments like these are why so many fans still root for her. She had power without courage, he had courage without power, and somehow they inspired each other. Unlike Hwang Dong-suk, who saw weakness as bait, Hwang Dong-suk lived in the shadow of his more successful younger brother, Hwang Dong-soo, and chose to make his name through cruelty. Dong-suk's exploitative ways would make him one of the most hated characters throughout the series. Most raid teams bring balance: tanks, healers, mages, assassins. Dong-suk's team, no healer, not even a full squad. Not an oversight, a strategy. Instead, they filled the gaps with disposable, low-rank hunters, bait for the boss. A strategy that would all too well backfire when he sets up Jin-woo and Jin-ho. The problem with Dong-suk isn't just his criminal ways, but the arrogance with which he says it. He laughed about it, certain no one would ever find the bodies. That wasn't confidence, that was arrogance. He eventually asks Jin-ho to murder Jin-woo in order to make him an accomplice and prevent the truth from coming out, an offer he ultimately declined. In the end, Jin-woo turned the bait trap back on him. Dong-suk's cruelty caught up with him and killed him. Some people might think Hwang Dong-suk got what he deserved, some might say otherwise. Let us know down in the comments. Dong-suk preyed on weakness. The Hashira protected it. But which of the Hashira are loved and which are hated? Find out here in the most loved versus most hated Hashira video.